What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Social Club where everyone has a voice. I'm your host, Jacob Hale, joined with me by Cam Saunders.
Before we get started, I just want to pay some bills here around the house. Make sure y'all subscribe. Make sure y'all follow us on Instagram. Make sure y'all join the Discord. All the links going to be in the bio. Like I said, that pays the bills around here, so make sure we get that follow. Make sure y'all comment. Anything Crazy Hell say, make sure y'all let him know in the comments so that way he can respond to them live in action on camera. Y'all can be looking forward to them videos every, what day we doing fan reaction?
Thursday. Fan reaction is Sunday.
Reaction. I'm sorry. Supporter reactions is on Sundays.
We have a video we post every Thursday, and then we do the fan-led segment where we read your comments every Sunday. What do you think are some of the reasons that the NBA is losing viewership right now?
All right. For anybody who didn't know, I used to be a former basketball player before I started football. So, basketball, NBA, all that stuff, basketball has a special place in my heart. So, everything I'm about to say comes from a fan of passion. So I don't want my words to be taken, different ways and stuff. So this is all passion. I'm coming from a fan of the NBA, and I want to start off by saying NBA players and the NBA as a organization, y'all are on straight bullshit. It is straight bullshit. I'm not going to sit here and hold my tongue. I'm not going to sit here and say anything that I don't mean. The NBA is absolute bullshit this year. It is absolute bullshit. I don't know when the last time I watched a full NBA game. I don't know when the last time I watched a full NBA game. And I want to look into the camera when I say this, y'all on bullshit. And here's some of the issues. He hit it on one, load management, but I'm going to hit on that third. Let me tell you the reason why the NBA is struggling right now and from a fan perspective, how I'm feeling. Number one, the NBA is player driven fan bases. It's not teams, right? So that's one issue that the NBA is dealing with is that most people that have a loyalty to the NBA, they're not loyal to teams, they're loyal to players. And the reason why that the viewership is dropping is because there's no player that just grabs the fans like interest. There's no more Kobe's. LeBron's 60, right? Steph Curry. Everybody in the world don't want to be a fan of Steph Curry. It's people that want to be different, right? It's things like that. There's no player that just grabs the attention of the fan. You know who almost did it? You know who almost did it? Anthony Edwards. He almost did it. Anthony Edwards is the closest thing to the attitude and mentality of the Kobe Bryant or Prime LeBron, Dwayne Wade, players like that who just fans, no matter what, when the players played, we watched. And they played every single game, which also lead to the low management thing that I will get in later. But NBA, like players in the NBA, like us fans want to be a fan of somebody, right? If we don't have, like, I have a favorite team. I'm an Orlando Magic fan, right? But for players who don't have NBA teams in their city, like Kansas City, like St. Louis, right? They looking for a player to be a fan of. Like everybody in Mama was a Kobe fan. Everybody loved LeBron. Everybody respected Dwayne Wade. It's not a player that just grabs everybody attention. Like I said, right now my favorite player is Anthony Edwards, right? Like I love watching Ant play, and the reason why Ant is grabbing most of our attention is because he has an attitude. He's not scared to talk shit. He will go at the best player on a team. In the NBA, it's too many personal friendship relationships. Respectful hate is missing in the NBA. Respectful hate is missing in the NBA. And the reason why it's missing is because one, a lot of players in the NBA is all friends with each other. So they don't want to talk smack. They don't want to, foul them too hard. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that, right? You're competitive. You're on the court. Go at each other. That's what we want to see. We want to see shit talking. My favorite moment of last year is when Anthony Edwards hit that three on KD, and as he was trailing back on the court, he was just sitting there barking at it the entire time, like, "Yeah, I'm here all fucking day." That's what he needs. That's what we need. That's what we need as a fan that watches the NBA. We need respectful hate. Respectful hate as far as like on the court, we're competitive. I don't like you. Off the court, it's like, hey man, how you doing? Right? Kobe had that. Kobe had that dog in him. Kobe didn't care about nobody but his craft. Like the care is missing from the NBA players, and it's hurting the league tremendously. Now, to the NBA side, before I let Hell go, I know I'm taking up a lot of time. On the NBA side, the reason why the NFL, the reason why college football, the reason why baseball can maintain a fan basis is because a lot of fans hate other fan bases. Right? For an example, the thing that keeps the NFL scribing is divisional games. Nothing is like when the Bears play the Packers or the Bears play the Lions or the Bears play any team in the NFC North because what makes them have you not noticed that whenever it's a divisional game, the tickets are like two times higher than if they was playing out of division game because like teams want to lock into hated teams. I think in the NBA, instead of having just the East and the West Conference, you need to divide them conference up into divisions so that way instead of fans being player based fans, they can be more team based fans because it's respectful hate. Like, hey, why not the Magic in like a small division with the Heats, the Hawks, and the Charlotte Hornets? I mean the Hornets, right? Why is that not like a small division to where every time the Hornets come into town, we know we got to pack out the arena because this is a divisional game. Right, NBA, you need to really think about some stuff like that. Like, you got to start making us fans that don't have a team in a local city like St. Louis. I'm talking for other people because I think I know how they feel. You got to make them believe in teams and or like start being teams of people. And the way you do that, you got to build friction between other teams instead of just having two conferences and say, well, just be the top 8 seed of this conference. No, you got to make games matter. Make games matter so you can stop the time off that these players doing, the load management, right? I understand that y'all want to do the NBA in-season tournament and the play-in games to get into the playoffs. We don't really care about that. Like, make the games more meaningful than that. Like, get some divisions and make these teams really compete and make the divisional games matter. So that way in the playoffs, home court matters or something like that. Like, change it up, do something, make it matter, make the games matter. So that way us fans is not just driven off players. We more want team. Like, we want to be fans of the team instead of the players.
Yeah, I think you touched on a lot of things. I definitely agree with that. That was actually a very interesting take. I didn't even think about that when it comes to rivalry games and stuff. Because as bad as the Bears are, the Bears actually beat the Packers. We're gonna feel good about it, regardless, right? Yeah, unfortunately, but yeah, that is our Super Bowl. So I'll touch on that, but I also want to bring something new into the argument. I think one of the most frustrating things from the fan perspective comes with the accessibility to actually watch the games. So as much as we hate the NFL Red Zone package price, it is very convenient once you purchase it. 7 hours of commercial-free football. So now there's commercials, so shame on them. But the fact that okay, I buy this YouTube package, $130 or something crazy like that, but I know I'm getting all the games here. Like, I'm gonna be good, right?
Yeah.
The problem with the NBA is that if you want to actually watch the NBA as a true fan, you need to have like 5 or 6 subscriptions to things, right? Because you need TNT, ESPN, Amazon Prime, I believe,
HBO Max.
HBO Max. Like, there's too many contracts going to too many different streaming sites. The Hulu's another one where that forces you to have to pay for that subscription. So now it's costing me $400 a month for me to be able to watch my favorite basketball team if I'm not in the area, if I'm not in the local area. Plus, blackout games are 100% bullshit across every sport. I think that's the dumbest thing ever. At least just make it a price of something that I can pay for. But the fact there's nothing I can do, I can't pay for it, is so stupid to me. But that's number one. And people throw that argument with using illegal streaming sites. That's literally why. It's because there's so many different places and apps that you have to purchase. And it's like, bro, take a look around. Like, people don't have that type of money to do that. Like, I like the Bulls, but I don't like them that much. They're gonna lose 60 games a year. Like, I'm not gonna pay all that money just to watch them lose. So that's something that the NBA really needs to figure out. They need to stop just making this a money hustle and actually create some type of package that'll centralize all the games so you can view it and enjoy it, right? That's definitely the most important thing. The second thing is this load management thing, because it's gotten completely carried away.
Oh, it's got out of hand.
It's gotten way out of hand. We're talking about back stiffness. Oh, let's low manage him. Let's save him for the playoffs. But what makes me so frustrated about that is that we say, okay, we want to save them for the real games. We want to save them for the playoffs. And then when they get in the playoffs and they're playing like 25 minutes in the first round because they have to get reacclimated to playing all these games, right? Or they'll lose in the second round. So it's like, okay, so you miss 30, 40 games just to get bounced in the second round. It's like, this is a waste of time. And we're paying you $200 million in a contract, right? It's so dumb. For a guy like Joel Embiid, I understand he has a lot of injuries, but also, you're a professional. It's the same thing with the rest of us. If I'm sick, if I'm hurt and stuff, I still have to show up to work. And that should be the same thing, right? Unless there's probable cause like surgery or anything like that, then you're just going to have to play hurt, right? People want to say, oh, that's unfair and all that stuff. Well, that's life. If we're going to pay you that much money, there's certain things that we expect, right? If we're going to pay you that much money, which comes out of our tax dollars to pay that money, right? Then I want you to actually play the games when I purchase my ticket for my wife and kids to actually go to the game, right? That's
Mhm.
what I want to see. So the NBA needs to do something like that. And I hear a lot of things floating around of like, oh, let's cut down the games and all that stuff. Listen, in my personal opinion, just don't get paid a game check. Simple as that. Listen, you make so much money, you're doing so well. You want to take a game off, just don't pay them. That's what I really think we should do because it's the same thing with the NFL. The NFL, they have injury clauses.
I totally agree with you, right? Here's a prime example that I back to the word bullshit from the players. This is a prime example. Patrick Mahomes is in a way more contact like sport. He had a high ankle sprain, which is doubtful to play, and his ass showed up to Sunday and played a football game on a high ankle sprain because it just meant more. Like he cared about his craft. With the NBA players, their contracts is so ridiculous. From like you said, the NBA doing the money grab thing. The owners just want the money that they can play these players 2 years, $120 million guaranteed. These players like I got 120 guaranteed. I don't have to play every game.
Yep.
I totally agree with you. Like it's getting to the point where NBA, I don't want to affect nobody, the players' money, but I don't want to spend my money thinking I'm going to go watch Joel Embiid at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City just to find out on the day of the game that he's not playing. And I just spent $127 on his damn ticket not to see Joel Embiid play against, you know, Rudy Gobert. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Players, like, dude, like I know sports. It's hard for a sport to die, but NBA, you are literally going to be a sport that is forgotten within the next 5 to 10 years if you don't fix your shit. And much respect to the commissioner, Adam, because Adam is trying everything he can think of. Adam is trying every single thing. Like this new. Have you heard about the new All Star situation they got going on?
No, what happened?
What they got like so anybody who's not, that haven't heard, I'm pretty sure you heard. And this year in the All Star, they're doing instead of how they do a traditional All Star game where they're having four different teams of eight, and they're doing like a mini tournament for the All Star game.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Okay, and then this goes back to also here. Well, it's just that the style of game is not there no more. Everybody want to shoot threes. Everybody want to shoot threes or layups. Shoot threes or layups. Nobody's playing traditional basketball. Nobody want to shoot the mid range jumper. Listen, the only reason why the game is that bad as far as like shoot threes or layups is because the way the game is being officiated. The game is soft. And right, the reason why so many teams can put up 3-point shots, let me put it in perspective because I know y'all think I'm going to talk out of my ass, right? Let me put it in perspective, right? With the game being called so like, softly as far as like any touches a whistle, it's hard to run a player off the 3-point line when you can't touch him, right? It's hard to chase Steph Curry around when you can't physically touch him or like grab him or like, tug on him or something like that. It's hard to just chase a player around when you can't touch him when everything is called a foul. If you want the 3-point shooting to stop owners, the refs have to call the game a little bit looser than what they're calling it. If you want to keep somebody off the 3-point line, it has to be contact there. It has to be some type of physicality there because you cannot keep a player off a 3-point line if you can't put your hand up on them, if you can't check them a little bit. It's very hard. A player can get any shot he wants on the court because you can't be physical with him. Loosen up with the calls. I promise you, if I told Patrick Beverly right now, hey, chase Steph Curry around the 3-point line, be as physical as you can with him, and don't let him get off a three, I guarantee you Steph Curry will not get off a three because Patrick Beverly will be as physical as he can with him, chest to chest, body to body, and follow him everywhere he needs to go around the court, which will make it hard for teams to put up 3-point shots. And when a team is playing very close and very tight and body to body contact, what that leaves open, audience, it leaves up backdoor screens for more dunks, more Blake Griffin type of highlights, more things like that. But when people got to play 2 feet off, and then when they drive right, you got to let them just go lay up because if you bump them a little bit, it's going to be an end one. It's very hard to play basketball like that. The officiating is the real reason why so many teams are putting up shots because they have open shots all day long. Like that's an issue. If you let them be a little bit more physical, we won't see as many dumb shots, wide open shots. I guarantee you, if you let these guys play defense, let them check them a little bit, it will be better for the overall game. Like one foul I hate is when a player got his hand out, and James Harden was known for doing this. James Harden would just swipe and just throw his hands up, and next thing you know, he's going to the free throw line. Like the thing is that, like one thing I like about NFL and football, the reason why football fan base is growing so much is because the referees actually reward defensive players sometimes. Like, yeah, and like I'm a receiver. I think if I don't catch the ball and it's a defend on me, it's a PI. But if the refs called it like that, teams would be throwing for 10 touchdowns a game. The fact that defensive players can actually be a little physical, the fact that they can be a little bit more hands on, and I know it's two different sports, two different worlds, but what I'm saying is that if you up the physicality in basketball, it will not be so many 3-point shots taken. Players will actually go to the rack. Players will actually try different shots. Players will get ran off the 3-point line. NBA, you got to let the refs call the game a little bit more looser.
Yeah, actually, let me just bring in a football reference because I know this from the old line. Is that you have that problem when your old line blocking defensive line, they'll shoot their hands up to try to block the pass, right? So then, what our coach would always say is that, hey, when the defender goes up and do that, what you do is don't use one hand, use both of your hands like you're going to block, punch them right into the stomach, and then usually that happens in the tackle position. So for the guard, if you know that a player is prone to that, what you're going to do is he tries to do that and punch him in the stomach. What you do when you see him jump, you run, try to run right through him.
And what they make his ass stop doing?
Jumping. That's exactly what's going to happen, right? So then now they understand, and it's similar to your point. Now they understand, yes, I can do this 20 times a game if I want to, but I also know I'm going to physically feel that when it happens, right? And it doesn't have to be something crazy, but a check enough to make you double think to do that. And that's what you want, right?
Yes.
And I do agree with that. And then another point that you made that I actually want to touch on is the fact that like they're all divas now, right? So there's no true face of the league. And part of the reason why is that a lot of the dominant players are European players, right? So it doesn't really resonate with American fans as much, right? Like Luka Doncic and Jokic, they're all great players, but also, most of us can't point to Serbia on the map, right? So there's no connection with that. Giannis, now I've been to Greece, so I'm a little bit different with Giannis, but most people haven't been to Greece. So Giannis is a great player. People love Giannis, but also Giannis is Greek, right? So there's still a difference in understanding and culture and everything, right? Anthony Edwards was a great player to eventually be the face of the league, but also
he's in the market. He's in the small market.
Well, no. It's even worse than that. It's the fact that he's also a diva. He needs some PR training, right? So people love Anthony Edwards being Anthony Edwards, right? But also people don't love the fact that he's in the news because of baby mamas, right? Yeah. People don't love the fact that he's going out there, making comments about gay people and things like that, right? Another player before Anthony Edwards was John Morant. John Morant was going to be the face of the league. How high he could jump, everything that he was doing, right? Same thing. His PR was terrible. Yeah. As much money as he was making, he was going out there wavering guns, pulling guns. Right. It didn't make any sense. And then the player before that was Zion Williamson. We thought Zion Williamson was the second coming of Jesus when he was coming in, right? And it was the same thing with him.
He turned into a porn star.
Well,
it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous.
Well, what happened, like he got all this money and then he just stopped caring about his weight, right? So now that affects it and that's making him injury prone, right? So the NBA, it's a hard situation to be in, but they need to stop babying these players because it's turning them all into divas. So now you have this situation where we're making so much money and also the league is just catering to us. So I don't have to try that hard. And that's honestly, if I could put this all into one thing, that's probably the biggest issue. It's that they're not trying during these regular season games. I promise you, you watch these games, they are not trying all these games. And you know what's the most annoying thing? Especially me since I'm a betting man? It's that the most annoying thing is that you already know if a team's down by 20 going into the fourth quarter, they're going to sell their starters. And that's going to destroy your parlay or whatever you have going on. That is so frustrating because you see it time and time again in the playoffs. They can be down by 20, but because that game actually matters, they can come back and win. But because it's the regular season game, let's just give up, rest them the last 15 minutes, and then we'll try again next time. That's frustrating as a fan. That's frustrating for me to pay my money to watch them get blown out, and then I'm watching second string, G League players hop in there at the end of the game. It's like, dude, like I spent real money to come out here, right? I took people out here. I gotta get home at like 10 p.m. I gotta beat traffic to get home and stuff, right? The least you can do is play the full 3 hours that I paid to see. It's annoying.
And that's what I'm saying. The NBA has too many meaningless games. That's why I brought up, like, hey, start a division to where some of these games actually freaking matters.
Mm-hmm.
To where a lose can affect, a loss can affect. Find something to where teams have rivals. Every single sport has rivals except for basketball. Outside of LA and Boston, name me a rivalry in NBA.
You said outside LA and Boston?
Name a true rivalry in NBA outside of LA and Boston.
That's kind of hard. I'm gonna need some help in the comments because it really just comes down to who's good, right? So like the big thing is like it was like Golden State and the Cavs for a while because they were actually good and making it to the finals, right?
For LeBron and Steph Curry.
Yeah, exactly. But it was still a thing, or like the Bulls and the Heat for a while when they were both good, right? So it was always a situational thing.
Yeah, the NBA has a lot of issues. It has a lot of issues that need to be fixed.
Yeah, and one thing I'll give credit to the NFL is that when you have athletes, you're going to have divas. It's just going to happen, especially when they're getting paid. But one thing the NFL does good is that if all else fails, they're going to find you. They're going to take your money for sure. And then the second thing is the accountability is a lot better because whenever they are doing this stuff, they get flagged for it. So like the George Pickens, right? George Pickens, everyone's having a good time making memes out of him and everything like that. But also in the background, they're in the locker room. It's like, hey, every time you do this stupid shit, we get penalized for it. So you're going to lose us a playoff game doing shit like that, right? So you can't do this forever, or we're just going to start benching you or something, right?
What else the NFL do well that the NBA need to pick them up? Just get their ass out of the league. A lot of NFL players, very young, get kicked out of the league and no team pick them up because either performance, effort, something. They get them out of the league. They get them out of the league. Somebody who got out of the league really early that I was surprised. Ty Gurley. Ty Gurley, he couldn't get on the team when he turned 28. 28 is your prime. I don't know what's the reason why Ty Gurley couldn't find another team after the Rams. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will. Okay. So I think there's pros and cons to this, but I will say it is an advantage of the NFL is that all the owners do talk to each other, and if they have a diva or a problem kid or a person that wants to quiet quit on the team, all the other owners are going to know, and they're not going to pick them up. A great example of that is actually Le'Veon Bell.
Yes.
Le'Veon Bell quiet quit. Never got picked up from a team when, again, another player that was in his prime, right? So I will give the NFL that, even though I don't think it's always right, because they do try to manipulate contracts like what they did with Lamar Jackson, how they told all the other teams don't make a bid on him. But I see the benefit in that as well, to where it's like, that's the problem with the NBA is that at the end of the day, these superstars can quiet quit and end up on another team, and there's nothing they can do about it, right? Where in the NFL, they're close enough knit group to where it's like, oh, this player wants to quiet quit. You know what? Don't even worry about it. There's a new college kid coming up next year. We'll just go pick him up. Don't even worry about it, right? And that, again, that affects their money. That affects their livelihood. So now, after Le'Veon Bell, everyone's pissed off, but you see what happened with the running back market. Running back market, people aren't getting second-year contracts. And it all started with Le'Veon Bell, right? And now you have people like Saquon and Derrick Henry that are literally fighting back the name running back in the NFL because of how good that they're playing. But Le'Veon Bell set the running backs back like 10 years over doing something like that.
Going out and I got, somebody like a Paul George for 21 points and he go out and score 10.
Yeah.
Right? That's you're on bullshit because to him it's just another night.
Yeah.
And I know players say all the time, I don't give a shit about your parlays. I don't care about any of that. No, it's if you average 25, give me 25 every night. Why you can't play to the standard every single night? Now I know it's different because different things happen on every night, but at least get close to your numbers. At least show them you try. There's no reason why you should go for 45 one night and then 2 points the next night. There's no reason why it should be like that. That's why Saquon go out there and run for 200 and then he run for -2 yards the next game. It don't work like that, right? like let come on, fellas, like let's
Yeah.
lock in, let's
And,
go.
and the last thing, well, there might be two things, but one thing I'll say is that, everyone wants to say they need to lower the amount of games. It's like, listen, when you go on that route, it's just going to create a bigger problem because then you're going to have the same problem with 60 games in about 5 years. It's going to be the same thing. You need to get to the root of this problem and stop it. And also, we're acting like 80 games was some new concept. It's always been 80
Yeah,
games. It's been 80 games for a very long time. The players just need to take care of their bodies better to be able to actually play 82 games. That used to be a thing. That used to be a thing for MVP, for awards, for accolades, for even being
yeah,
called the GOAT. Yeah,
65 games to get it to win MVP.
yeah, yeah. So that actually used to be a thing that people cared about was like how many games they were actually playing and stuff like that. And now we're kind of going away with that, but we need to get back to that. It's like if you feel like you can't give it your all every single game, listen, you're getting paid 100 million. You better figure it out from a body standpoint to get yourself in that position to play 82 games or at least have a shot.
One trade where like I don't know if it was the Bears or the Jets where like a certain player had to play a certain amount of games in order to get that first round draft pick or something like that.
Yeah, that was, but I think an easier one that I remember was Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
Aaron
so
Rodgers had a clause like
yeah,
that. Yeah. And they're starting to do that with Zion Williamson, but they need to just do that across the board. That needs to just be standard practice. Is that we don't have to pay you all this money if certain things aren't met, right? So that's important.